One of America's most famous sportsmen sits in a cold, sterile conference room. It's packed with officials, investigators and lawyers. The silence is crushing him, the air heavy with sweat, smoke and old coffee. He shifts in his chair, wondering, where did it all go wrong? He's baseball's biggest star, the most career hits, most played games, 3 times World Series champion and an incredible 17 All-Star games. But today, none of that matters, because today he's about to strike out for good. Across the table, the boss man spells it out one last time. One of the game's greatest players has engaged in a pattern of behaviour that has stained the game. Then, the nod to the document in front of him, the one that will end his career forever. He's signed plenty of these before, for big money, in front of adoring fans. This time though, it's different. Can he come out swinging? The evidence against him is overwhelming, or is it? For years, nobody has noticed a thing. To understand why, we need to go back 15 years earlier to when this troubled legend was in his prime. It's early 1976, and over with the Cincinnati Reds, Pete Rose is on top of the world.
There is love aplenty here in Cincinnati for Pete Rose. This certainly his crowning achievement.
From his Rookie of the Year season back in 1963, he's helped make them one of the greatest baseball teams ever. Their nickname? The Big Red Machine.
Here comes Concepcion, and the 1976 pennant belongs to the Reds, and have swept the Philadelphia Phillies to move into the 1976 World Series.
They've won 2 World Series, so it's a team full of talent. But in the bottom 9th, bases loaded, needing a hit to win, he's the guy you want in the firing line. Because Pete has talent, sure, but his real superpower is his heart. He's a wrecking ball of energy, aggression, and never say die. So they call him Charlie Hustle.
And here is Pete Rose. And Pete has the very colorful nickname, I like this. They call him Charlie Hustle.
But that burning desire and the belief that he will always come out on top doesn't stop when the lights go out at the ballpark, because everyone knows that Pete likes a bet, although likes is an understatement. Pete grew up around betting in blue-collar Cincinnati. Horses were a thing. At first, he could take it or leave it. But when he starts earning money himself, silly money, then he gets involved, just for fun. First is horses, then football, then basketball. Then the fun becomes a habit, and when the bets get bigger and the losses kick in, it's a habit he can't afford.
He has the usual millionaire toys, more money tied up in wheels than most men earn in 3 or 4 years.
And now he needs a plan, and inside of him, a little dark voice comes up with one. In every clubhouse in America, you'll find the Major League Baseball rules, pinned up like the 10 Commandments, and the one that's niggling him is the one he knows off by heart.
Rule 21 in baseball, subsection D. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Major League Rule 21, Clause D. Gambling. Any player, umpire or club league official or employee who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has no duty to perform shall be declared ineligible for 1 year. Betting on other baseball matches is the second worst thing you can do, apparently. But what's the big deal? And what's the year of his life anyway? He'll be in baseball forever because nothing stops Charlie Hustle, so he soon decides it's game on. Come the 1978 season, Pete is 37. On the park, he's playing better than ever. He records a hitting streak of 44 games.
And Pete Rose has done it. A base hit in the 44th consecutive game, and Pete Rose moves abreast of Wee Willie Keeler on the all-time list. And everyone in Atlanta Stadium is on their feet.
The second longest streak of the 20th century after the legendary Joe DiMaggio. So he cashes in, leaving Cincinnati to become the highest paid athlete in team sports. When the Phillies sign him to a 4-year, $3 million deal, it's a serious payday.
Rose says he likes Philadelphia because he thinks that with his injection of talent, the team will be a cinch for the World Series.
And off the park, he needs it to gamble. Pete's now betting on a game he knows better than anyone, baseball. So he bets big, and at first, he wins big. Soon, his betting becomes an open secret, So, in fact, the MLB commissioner, Bowie Kuhn, calls Pete in his office. The message is clear. Stop now. In fact, over the next few years, he's warned repeatedly by major league officials to curtail his gambling. But nobody tells Pete what to do, and he continues to follow the golden rule. Deny, deny, deny.
And the only thing I can tell the fans is I did not bet on baseball. I'm happy to look in the camera now and say I never bet on baseball, and I never bet on Cincinnati Red baseball.
Do you believe you have a gambling problem of any sort?
I don't think I have a gambling problem at all.
Are you willing to show contrition, admit that you bet on baseball, and make some sort of an apology to that effect?
Not at all, Jim, not at all. I'm not going to admit to something that didn't happen.
But for all his confidence, Pete's no financial genius. Because the house always wins, and soon he's down. And then he's down some more. And before too long, things are spiralling out of control. As we hit the 1980s, Pete's playing days are numbered. Still time for one more final World Series, and then in 1984 he comes back home to Cincinnati as a player manager with staggering hidden debts of $750,000.
Pete was into him for at least $500,000. They essentially had a mortgage on the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, and he couldn't pay that mortgage off. It was deadly serious.
He's desperate, he's cornered, and he needs a way out. And then suddenly, one hits him. Wouldn't gambling be easier if he had inside information? Well, now, as a manager, he does. And it's game on again. Major League Rule 21, Clause D2. Any player, umpire, or club or league official or employee who shall bet any sum whatsoever upon any baseball game in connection with which the bettor has a duty to perform shall be declared permanently ineligible. But again, Pete has all the answers for himself and the bookies. What are they going to prove? And how are they going to prove it?
One of the reasons he bet on baseball is because he was so good at it. He lost so much on the other sports. He was uncanny when it came to baseball.
It's 1985 and Pete's betting on his own team to win. At first, he starts small, a little bit every game, because he knows they're in good shape. That's his inside information, or that's what he tells himself. I bet on my team to win every night because I love my team. I believe in my team. And for a while, the bets all hit. And Pete feels like he's the smartest guy in the park. Now he's winning twice. But as always, he eventually starts to lose, and then lose more, and then he loses a lot. So what does Pete do? The gambler, the fighter, the guru who never backs off, he chases his losses, he doubles his bets, and it gets him back to scratch. But then what? He's going round in circles, and he suddenly realises that something has to change. But the something he chooses has disastrous consequences. By 1987, Pete's playing career is over. He's now just the manager at Cincinnati. The space gives him time to reflect on how to be a leader and how to win more money. Betting on his team to win every game is proving a dumb strategy because some games they're more likely to win than others. Because of form, because of fitness, because of team selection. And Pete knows his stuff better than anyone because he's on the inside. It's just time to bet smarter. So for King Charlie Hustle, it's game on again and again. The trouble is though, he wants to bet big, but he's fresh out of credit. And what he's doing is completely illegal. He can't just call in his picks to a friendly neighbourhood bookie, so instead he reaches out to his friends, the ones who know people. Like Tommy Gagosa, who claims he knows the mafia. Now, he places Pete's bets for him and makes a 10% cut of his losses. And Pete's done a deal with the devil here. The money men don't care about baseball. They don't care who Pete is, so they don't ask any questions. And they'll never stop taking Pete's bets. But if he owes them, they will not mess around.
Pete not only gambled, but Pete stiffed bookies. This went on for years and years and years and years until the bookies that he stiffed were mob-connected bookmakers. When he didn't pay off them, that was a different story.
Meanwhile, the MLB and National League are tipped off again that Rose is gambling heavily. He's warned again. Now would be a good time to stop, but he doesn't. Quitting is not an option, so he asks himself what more he can do to give himself an edge, and the answer leaves a bad taste in his mouth. What if he was to start making management decisions based not on baseball, but on betting? Resting key players today so he can bet bigger tomorrow. It's crossing the line. He wants his team to win every game, but maybe they'd have more wins overall if he managed the bullpen more carefully. It's a legit strategy, but he knows he didn't come up with it because of baseball. He came up with it because now he does owe those bad people money, and they don't like waiting for it. He asks for a little more time, but the answer is clear. No. One day the phone rings and they lay it all out. We own you. Another caller threatens to burn his house down and break his kid's legs. But Pete never backs down. He just challenges the world again. What have they got? But actually, they have got something. More than something. They've got enough to take him down forever.
What do you understand a gambling disorder to be?
Well, I always thought if you had a gambling disorder that you had to gamble every day, 7 days a week, 12 months a year. And my disorder is a little different because I have a problem, or had a problem, when I had a lot of time and nothing to do with my energy.
It's 1988 and Pete finds more new bookies. Now, when he backs his own team, not every game, they always win. And when he doesn't, they usually lose. He's playing his bullpen like a poker hand. It gets so bad, the bookies start copying him. If Pete bets big, they bet big. If Pete sits out, they know the Reds are screwed. And meanwhile, as fast as he's winning money, he's losing it twice as much elsewhere. And soon, he has something else to worry about. Major League Baseball have had enough. Pete's gambling problems are now so widely known that they simply have to act. New MLB Commissioner Bart Giamanti launches an investigation led by lawyer John Dowd. In November of 1988, a number of Pete's contacts are called in for questioning, and in March 1989, Pete is personally informed. But he just shrugs it off. Again. He's Pete Rose, the hit king. Every curveball he's ever faced, he's smashed out of the park, so why can't he do it again? All people have to do is stay quiet.
Pete, is it frustrating that you're not being allowed to talk about this current situation, that you've been told not to say anything?
No comment.
But some of his associates have their own motivations, and worse still, they've been keeping records. Insurance, you might say. And if those were to fall into the wrong hands, the would really hit the fan, and a few months later, it does. On the 9th of May 1989, John Dowd submits a Dowd report to Giamanti. Pete waits nervously. The days tick by. May 10th, May 11th. What's happening? May 12th, 13th. No news is good news, right? And then on May 17th, Pete and his lawyer are invited to hear its contents. It's a 225-page smoking gun, betting slips, bank slips, and worst of all, recordings of 100 testimonials. 100 people. And as the tapes play out, the blood starts to drain from Pete's face. The first witness to turn is Paul Jansen, a bet runner for illegal syndicates. He coughs to reduce his own sentence. He provides betting slips in Pete's handwriting, proving he's wagered on his own team. He adds that Pete would deny paying the debts and owed tens of thousands of dollars to bookies.
He always bet the same amount. He always bet on his team. He never bet against his team.
Were there days that Rose didn't bet on the Reds?
Well, if he called, he bet on the Reds every time that I can remember.
Next comes Ron Peters, a bookie from Cincinnati. Fed up of Pete's debts, his betting slips prove Pete bet on up to 10 games a day, from $2,000 to $10,000 per game, including at least 52 games of his own. Some bets were called in from the stadium just minutes before the match. And then there's the one that hurts the most, Tommy Gagosa, his friend, who testifies that Pete owes a fortune to the New York Mafia and wanted in on a lucrative coke deal. Crucially, Dowd also proves there's a pattern. Pete didn't bet on the Reds when reserve pitchers Bill Gullickson and Mario Soto were starting. This shows a clear link between Pete's betting and his tactics. He was also guilty of point shaving, putting on the handbrake so his team won by fewer points. It's something he will always deny. For now though, he denies everything. His world is falling apart. But as always, he comes out punching. He tries to sue the MLB. But then the rumours start circulating. He calls it a witch hunt. Jealousy. But he can't hide the truth forever, and eventually he's offered a way out.
His attorneys today filed suit, charging Commissioner Bart Giamanti with being biased and prejudging the case. They want a jury trial instead of next Monday's scheduled hearing in New York, when Rose was to answer charges he bet on baseball games, including his own team, the Reds.
It's the 24th of August 1989 and Gim Ante calls a press conference to deliver his verdict. Pete Edward Rose is banned from baseball for life, with absolutely no deal for reinstatement.
The banishment for life of Pete Rose from baseball is the sad end of a sorry episode. One of the game's greatest players has engaged in a variety of acts which have stained the game.
It's a thunderclap moment. This time, the game is over. But his lawyers have struck a deal. In return for the ban, Pete will not have to admit anything. He faces the cameras, grits his teeth, and lies to the world once more. I never bet on baseball. I never bet on Cincinnati Reds. Age 48 with his playing days over, but management career just beginning, the ban is a bitter pill to swallow. But Pete can cope. What really hurts is what happens next. As one of baseball's all-time greats, Pete belongs in the Hall of Fame. There, his status as a legend would live on forever. But baseball says no. And for the next 15 years, there's a standoff. Pete just keeps on lying, keeps on denying. The game turns back on him, and nothing changes. Until it does.
He has confessed, finally admitting that he bet on baseball and on his own team that led to the exile he calls My Prison Without Bars in a new book. Should we start believing him? You decide.
Over the years, it's suggested again and again that if Pete had fessed up, shown some remorse, then things might have just been different. So in 2004, he finally admits the truth.
Did you bet on baseball?
Yes, I did, and that was my mistake, not coming clean a lot earlier.
He does so in his own autobiography, My Prison Without Bars. But to Pete's horror, it doesn't work. To the suits at the league, it's all just seen as too little, too late. A strategic move to get what he wants, rather than a genuine apology. The fans are divided. Some believe he deserves reinstatement. Others say that the damage is done. Either way, he stays locked out of Cooperstown. No plaques, no honours, no acknowledgement for his unparalleled career. He's a tragic Hall of Fame ghost who never stops haunting its corridors. Over the years, as health declines, he remains defiant. What, are they waiting for me to die? Wouldn't that be horrible if I died next week and then next year they reinstated me? And on the 30th of September 2024, aged 83, Pete Rose does die at his home in Las Vegas. For the hit king, the gambler, the legend, it's finally all over, and those Hall of Fame doors still slam shut. Throughout his life and career, scandal and rumour followed Pete Rose everywhere, from court bats, on-field violence, tax evasion to sex with underage girls, and while many remain unproven, it's clear that one of baseball's greatest ever winners played out his days on the losing team.